أحمد بدل ما كان يروح صار رقم.
No name, no certificate. Just a military branch number, a detainee number, and a death number assigned by a forensic doctor. This is how the bodies of tortured Syrians were catalogued in regime prisons. These individuals were so dehumanized by their captors that they were stripped of their identities and were reduced to mere numbers. The world was first confronted with these horrors in 2014 thanks to two Syrian whistleblowers codenamed Caesar and Sami. Caesar, a military forensic photographer for 13 years, was conscripted in 2011 and tasked with photographing the bodies of detainees who had died and most often killed in custody. What he ended up documenting, however, was not death, but rather a chilling and systematic routine of torture and execution.
I would work for hours, taking photographs, loading the photographs, and I would have to hide my emotions. I would have to pray that a tear does not come down my face, because if they saw one tear, if they saw one expression on my face that showed sympathy, then I would be killed, as would my family.
Instead of defecting when the war broke out, Caesar chose to stay in Syria to bear witness. From March 2011 to August 2013, he secretly captured over 55,000 photographs showing bodies bearing signs of severe torture, starvation, and mutilation, many having been brutally executed. These images documented more than 11,000 people who had been killed by the regime, many of their lifeless bodies affixed with numbered tags and oftentimes naked. But Caesar did not stop at just documenting the deaths. He smuggled the photographs out of Syria, often hiding USB drives in his shoes or belt. His trusted friend Sami then helped transport the images to safety. Working with international lawyers and Syrian activists, Caesar handed over his photos to the Syrian National Movement, which later formed the Syrian Association for Missing and Conscience Detainees, to handle the files. By 2015, the Syrian National Movement shared 53,270 images with Human Rights Watch, which confirmed their authenticity. Forensic experts, including the FBI, analyzed the metadata of the photos, verifying them as genuine, and said they were far more compelling than any evidence ever gathered against the Nazis. But the regime leader, Bashar al-Assad, disagreed.
You can forge anything these days, and we're living in a fake news era, as you know. Who verified the pictures? Who they verified that they're not edited and photoshopped and so on?
In 2015, thousands of these photos were made public, offering the first real opportunity for families to search for their missing loved ones. Among the victims identified was Ahmad al-Musalmani, a 14-year-old boy who had returned to Syria from Lebanon on August 2, 2012, to attend his mother's funeral. While traveling in a minibus with 5 others, an officer at a checkpoint discovered an anti-Assad song on Ahmad's phone called Ya Hef and detained him. Ahmad's uncle, Dahi, a former judge, sought help from government officials and paid over $14,000 in bribes to secure Ahmad's release, but his efforts were unsuccessful. Dahi eventually fled to Jordan after being warned he was wanted for arrest. After searching for 950 days, Dahi identified Ahmad in one of the images snapped by Caesar of those who had been tortured by the regime's Air Force intelligence.
قعدت أفتش في الصور فتفاجأت بصوته كأنه هو، من خشمه من هيبته، من هو أحمد ورقم حاطين لي رقم عليه.
On December 13, 2024, following the toppling of Assad, Caesar's collaborator, Sami, revealed his identity.
يمكن هي المرة الأولى اللي ممكن أقول فيها أنه أنا أسامة عثمان، مهندس مدني من ريف دمشق. حتى أطفالي لم يكونوا يعرفون أنهم أبناء هذا الرجل الذي يحمل الكود السري سامي. ومو أنت البطل. البطل هي آلاف الصور اللي عم تمر قدام عيوني كل يوم، وأنا عم شوف عيون مقتلعة من المحاجر والدماء متناثرة حول محجر العين. بيخطر ببالي إنه هذا كان قلبه شغال وقت قلعوا له عينه.
Of the 6,786 victims that appear in Caesar's photos, most were detained by 5 intelligence branches in Damascus. Researchers identified 27 individuals, documenting their arrests and, some cases, torture by regime intelligence agencies. The victims' families spent years searching for them, often paying large sums of money to middlemen in government or security agencies for information. Only 2 received death certificates, stating the cause of death as heart or respiratory failure. None retrieved their loved ones' bodies for burial. These photographs represent only a small fraction of those killed in Assad regime custody. Thousands of families are still searching for loved ones lost in the chaos of war or buried in as yet undiscovered mass graves, their identities secretly stored in unprocessed documents and hidden archives. As Human Rights Watch put it in a damning report, If the Dead Could Speak, they'd reveal a more depressing yet traumatic account of what happened inside these prisons for years. Now, with the regime finally having fallen, the legacy of destruction it left behind doesn't just involve hunting stories of forcible disappearances, death, and torture, but also years of reconstruction and healing for the entire country and its people.
بدنا أولادنا الله يكسر خاطره وين أخذون